Welcome to this explainer, where we're diving deep into the core concepts of Jonathan Reed's book, Start a Business from Zero. Think of me as your business mentor for this session. Look, I constantly see incredibly talented, driven people freeze up right before taking their very first step. And you know why? Because they're completely convinced their hands are empty. Well, it's time for a major reality check. You are absolutely not starting from zero.
Here's a quick look at our roadmap for today's masterclass. We'll hit the negativity bias trap, uncovering hidden business capital, the compost metaphor, mapping skills to needs, useful versus glamorous assets, and finally, your weekly action plan.
All right, part 1, the negativity bias trap.
Our brains are literally hardwired to scan for threats and deficits. It's a basic evolutionary survival mechanism. Thousands of years ago, noticing a predator sprinting toward you was vastly more important than admiring a beautiful sunset, right? But in modern business, this negativity bias completely destroys our momentum. We immediately hyper-focus on what we lack. We obsess over the connections we don't have, the funding we're missing, or the complex software we don't know how to use. And it tricks us into believing we are completely unqualified to even start. Jonathan Reed hits the nail on the head in the book with this quote: "You are not starting from zero. You are starting from unorganized assets." Let me just give it to you straight. Stop waiting to magically transform into some flawless startup founder with a picture-perfect morning routine. Your toolbox isn't empty. It's just a little bit of a mess, and you haven't bothered to put labels on your tools yet. Moving right along to Section 2, Uncovering Hidden Business Capital. We all constantly fall into the "that doesn't count" trap. We sit there and think, sure, I coordinated a few messy group projects in college, but that doesn't count. Or, I take care of an elderly relative, but literally anyone would do that. We dismiss our skills simply because they feel totally ordinary to us. But you have to remember this absolutely crucial point. Your normal everyday routine is very often the exact missing solution that someone else will gladly pay for. Why? Because they completely lack that ability. Just think about your daily household chores. Do you manage the family schedule, juggle medical appointments, and handle chaotic grocery runs when everything goes wrong? Guess what? You have intense, real-world training in rapid response project management and logistics. Do you regularly teach your grandparents how to use their new smartphones without completely losing your temper? That is elite-level communication right there. The ability to simplify complexity is a skill worth its weight in gold for customer success roles or educational products. Your everyday chores are actually incredible training grounds for valuable paid services.
Let's get into Section 3, the compost metaphor.
Think of a literal compost pile. It's messy, it's tedious, and it definitely doesn't look glamorous on a sleek LinkedIn profile. But it is exactly where the strongest plants grow. Think back to your absolute worst past jobs. Did you have toxic bosses, highly demanding clients, a completely chaotic office environment? Those frustrating experiences are your compost. That is exactly where you learned how to set ironclad boundaries, build deep stress resilience, and create operating systems just to survive the chaos. Over time, all that mess breaks down into highly fertile business capital. And then there's what we call the archaeological dig. Some of your skills, like being naturally organized or instantly calming down anxious people, are so deeply integrated into who you are that they've become practically invisible to you. You're just operating on autopilot. You have to consciously grab a brush and a shovel to excavate these assets. Just because you can systematize a messy folder or calm a tense room with your eyes closed doesn't mean it isn't a massive business advantage.
Okay, Section 4, mapping skills to needs.
One of the absolute best analytical tools for figuring this out is a mapping exercise. You just list out your skills, your experiences, your contacts, and your interests. Consider this specific combination. Let's say you have a skill for simplifying information, experience in teaching adults, some contacts who are freelancers, and a genuine interest in digital tools. When you combine those seemingly ordinary, everyday elements, a highly unique market direction emerges. This hypothetical person is perfectly positioned to build beginner-friendly organizational systems for overwhelmed freelance professionals. The critical takeaway here is to drop the pressure of perfection. The goal of this mapping exercise isn't to magically invent your flawless, final business model on the very first try. The objective is simply to notice the fascinating patterns and the intersections between what you're naturally good at and who you can actually help. Just take a step back and observe the puzzle pieces you already hold in your hands.
Section 5, useful versus glamorous assets.
New entrepreneurs constantly fall into this trap where they confuse actual, real-world utility with glamorous optics. They think they need a perfectly animated website, massive venture funding, or a flawless, minimalist aesthetic just to call themselves a real business.
Listen to me. Those are just decorations. In the early stages, the only things that truly matter are useful assets. Things like remaining calm under pressure, having deep empathy for confused beginners, or simply following through on your promises. Those are the gritty, functional tools that actually build trust, solve real problems, and ultimately generate revenue.
So, to filter out all those vanity metrics, I want you to use 2 absolutely ruthless evaluation questions. First, is this genuinely useful to someone who lacks this specific skill? And second, can I actually use it within the next 30 days? If your complex new marketing strategy sounds brilliant but requires resources you won't have for another 6 months, put it away. Focus purely on the humble, proven asset you can monetize this week.
Finally, Section 6, your weekly action plan.
We are turning all this theory into rigorous action. Here are 3 strict behavioral steps I want you to execute this week. Step 1. Look at your map and identify 3 highly useful, accessible assets. Step 2. Write down 1 tiny, concrete action you can take for each of those assets. Step 3. Open your calendar right now and schedule a short work session within the next 48 hours to execute just one of those tasks. This is exactly how you generate real, tangible momentum.
Now, to guarantee you actually follow through, you need to use the if-then framework. Stop saying, "Oh, I'll do it when I have some free time." We all know that never works. Instead say, "If I finish lunch on Saturday, then I will sit down for exactly 20 minutes and draft a service offer using my skill of simplifying tech." See that? A concrete trigger leading to a concrete action. We are actively mobilizing what you have, not just sitting back and admiring it.
I'll leave you with this provocative thought from the book. Ask yourself, what becomes easier if you stop demanding ideal assets and start using your real ones? What opens up if you stop wishing for a flawless starting line and just pick up the scratched, perfectly functional tools you already own? Answer that, and you'll realize you're already well on your way. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and start building.